conferences, at local conferences, or wherever it is. So the next is research helps your professional visibility and impact as a young professional or as a pharmacist, because when you write research publications, it shows the evidence of what you are doing in the field. If you're a researcher in community pharmacy, if you're a researcher in hospital pharmacy or in the industry, when you publish papers that are in your line of field, it shows people that you are becoming a thought leader and you become very much recognized in your field of study. When you publish research, it gets cited by scholars from other universities, from other parts of the world, which enhances your reputation as a student, as a pharmacist, or as a young professional. So this was in 2021. This was when I was in my, I think this was in my 200 level, in my second year of pharmacy school. So this was a framework which I developed for industrial pharmacists in Nigeria to curb fake drugs. So this paper, I did it in collaboration with the national chairman of NAIP, which is a chain of industrial pharmacists of Nigeria, and the Famshola Sholarin, the president of the industrial pharmacy section of the FIP, the International Pharmaceutical Federation, and Pharmacy Sam Ohabwa, who was the then president of the Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria. And notably, this was done in my second year of university. Despite the fact that I was in 200 level, these people still collaborated with me, and I developed a framework for industrial pharmacists to address fake drugs in Nigeria. And this fake drugs was used by PSN to set up a national protocol for combating substandard and counterfeit medicines. This would have not been possible if I hadn't established myself as a thought leader, despite the fact that I was still a 200 level student trying to study for anatomy and physiology to pass my CH201 and all of that. So this is what research does. It positions you as a thought leader in your field, and people would always want to associate and collaborate with you. All right. So okay. So this on the left is my Google Scholar page. I just took a snapshot today. I have 853 citations, a H index of 14. I'm sure we'll not understand what this means, but in the scientific community, these are things that they used to rank top scientists in the world. So on the right is the WHO COVID database. I can remember sometime in 2020, during the COVID pandemic, I think we spent about 9 months at home. So I published a lot of research papers on COVID-19. I published about 30 papers on COVID that year. That year was an amazing year for me because I did a lot of research. I didn't have to study for exams. There was no reports to write. I was at home, so I did a lot. And then here is the WHO database for COVID-19. So this database is a database for the most reputable papers that have been published in the field of COVID. And this was in my 300 level, and I had about 20 of my research papers were recognized by the WHO as top rated, as papers that you can get credible information from. So this is what research does to you. You can be a young professional, you can be a student, whatever it is that you are doing research, it helps to build your professional visibility and impact. Right, and the next is doing research helps you to build your expertise and specialization, because it helps you to provide thought leadership on a particular topic. You can become a subject matter expert. If your field of interest is in community pharmacy, in hospital pharmacy, in the industry, in regulatory affairs, and whatever it is, when you begin to publish papers in that field, you are becoming known. Once people call your name, Emelo de Kiriki, Sabi that guy, he does papers on this, he publishes papers on this. So this is what research helps you to achieve. It builds your expertise and specialization, whether it is you're a student or you are a young pharmacist. So okay, I'm just sharing my experiences on how these have taken place in my own life. So this was I think it was in 200 level. So a researcher at the University College London, he reached out to me, and he told me he's working on a research paper on industrial and trade policy with reference to drug production in Nigeria, but he wants my opinion. So they wanted to interview me, and of course we had the interview. So the findings from our interview informed some of the things that this researcher used for his PhD thesis. That was me in 200 level, in 200 level, just because I published a lot of research. And when people search, let's assume, because then I used to publish a lot of papers on pharmacy. So when you go online and you search for a particular topic, and then you see 10 research papers, and then when you click those 10 research papers, the name you keep seeing is Okereke Melody, Okereke Melody, Okereke Melody. No one is going to know that you're a student. Everybody feel like, this person is publishing a lot of papers. He's an expert. Let's reach out to him and hear his opinion. So that's how it has been over the years. And this is another student from another university, a PhD student from another university in London, who said he was researching on pharmaceutical manufacturing in Nigeria. And he said he has followed me on Twitter for some years now. He has read my works and he thinks I am highly placed to help him in this regard. So we had a number of discussions. My insights really helped his PhD dissertation. So whether it's a student or a young professional or a pharmacist, engaging in research is very helpful. The ripple effect on your career, on your personal development, on your career and professional development is impossible to overstate. So if you're under the sound of my voice, I'm encouraging you with every breath in me to start doing research. All right, so next is doing research. It gives you an edge in scholarship applications. So many of us on this call, we are young pharmacists, and once you're done with school, you do your internship. The next thing on your mind is, when will I do my masters? When will I get married and all of that thing? So research helps you a lot. Okay, let me quickly go to the next slide. So this is an example of a Commonwealth Master's Scholarship. These are the requirements for those of us who want to apply for the Commonwealth Master's Scholarship. So these are the things that they check for when you apply. They check for your academic merits. They check for your quality of research proposal if you're applying for a PhD position, and they check for the quality of your study plan if you're applying for a master's, and they check for the development impacts of your proposed study. So let's go back to academic merits. There's something I boxed in a red line. So it says academic prizes or awards, other relevant academic achievements or publications where appropriate. Now, the amazing thing about this Commonwealth Master's Scholarship is that the minimum requirements, the minimum CGPA to apply for this scholarship is 3.5, which means everybody who applies for this Commonwealth Scholarship has a minimum CGPA of 3.5 over 5, right? And last year, they had, I think, more than 30,000 people applied for the Commonwealth Master's Scholarship. Now, what does this say? This means that of those 30,000 persons, all of them have a CGPA of 3.5. Now, the amazing thing is, given that that is the baseline criteria, it implies that at the moment of application, your CGPA does not matter again, because it is you against every other person who has the same grade. Now, let's assume they decide to streamline it down and say, okay, since we have 30,000 applicants, let us take only 10,000 applicants. So only those who have first class and above should apply, right? So the number then goes down from 30,000 to 10,000, which means 10,000 applicants have a first class degree. Now it is you against 9,999 other first class students. If you were the VGS in your set, you were the overall best graduating student, it does not matter again, because it is you against your fellow BGSs. Now the question is, your CGPA is now no more important. So what else are you bringing to the table? What else do you have that will keep you outstanding over thousands of other applicants? It is clearly written here that there are secondary indicators. The primary indicators are your examination results, which is your CGPA, your transcript, and your referee report. Now, the secondary things, when these things are not able to let you pass through the door, what else do you have? Here we can see academic prizes, we can see other relevant achievement, which is your travel scholarships. Have you won research grants? Have you won travel scholarships? Have you published research papers? Have you attended conferences? Have you presented your research papers at international conferences? So these are the other things that consolidate your application if you are applying for this scholarship. So research is very much important. A lot of people would feel like, why am I doing research? It's not important. I don't need it. I'm telling you today that it's very much important. Yes, you might be the best in your class, but when you get into the outside world, it is you against the BGSs, the best students from other disciplines. So what else differentiates you from other best students? This is where research comes in and extracurricular development. So it is very much important for you as a young pharmacist. If you have not yet started your research journey, it's not too late. Now is the right time. Courtesy of this webinar, it will give you the foundation to kickstart your research journey. So I hope this is as clear as it should be. So the next importance of doing research is that it enriches your CV and resume. Currently, if I was to prepare my CV currently, and I want to improve my research publications, it takes about 10 pages alone. Like my publications takes up to 10 pages. Sometimes I even have to reduce the font of my CV so that it won't seem like I'm doing too much. My research publications, I currently have about, I think, 77 papers. If I'm putting them in my CV, it's more than 10 pages already. So it helps you to, to enrich your CV when you want to apply for things. Sometimes, when I begin to apply for some people have this Melody knows somebody, he has connection, blah blah blah. People say that a lot. But beyond the social capital, I have what would make these people even want to help me. Even if I did not have these people, if I were to apply for something with my peer, I believe by the grace of God, with the work I've done so far, there's going to be a margin, no matter how thin it is, but there's going to be something that differentiates me from whosoever I'm contesting against. And this has been the bane of my extracurricular achievements in school. I've won travel scholarships to different countries around the world. I've published a lot of research papers. I've won research grants. When you apply for these things, you submit your CV, and these things help you. So, including your research publications on your CV, it helps to enhance your credibility and visibility within your field of study or industry. It shows that this guy has actually contributed to the society, has contributed to the scientific community. If you're interested in community pharmacy, you're interested in hospital pharmacy, and there is you do not have a publication in the scientific community, it appears that you haven't made any substantial contribution because there is no evidence. So the only evidence that you have done work in the scientific community is to publish paper, except you will explain, no evidence. You will explain tire. So you need research to increase your visibility as a young pharmacist. So I think we'll get more scientific, but I promise to be very, very basic. I'm not going to speak scientific jargon so that everyone is going to be on the same page with me. So I'm talking about the fundamentals and basics of research writing. So back when we were in pharmacy school, I think when we did filtration technique in 200 level, so there's this thing that we use for filtration is the funnel. So we have the funnel and then we have the inverted funnel, and so that's the analogy that we used in the research paper. So when you want to, this is the anatomy of a scientific paper. We follow a format called the IMRAT format. The first is the introduction, the second is the method, the third is the result, and then discussion. I mean, it's amazing that we are all pharmacy students. So these things are things we've done when writing reports in PharmChem, in PMB, in Farm Micro. These things are things that we are used to, but I'll just provide a perspective that we are not particularly aware about. So in your research paper, when you download the research paper, an entire research paper, there's what we call the funnel perspective and the inverted funnel perspective. Now, when you look at an inverted funnel, it's something like this. Can we see my hands, please? Let me see if I can do something here to illustrate. Can you see me on the screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Sorry? Can we hear me? Can anyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. We can see you.
Okay. All right. So this is the format of the inverted funnel. It's narrow at the top, and then as you get down, it becomes very wide. So that is called an abstract. When you want to submit an abstract to a conference, you want to present your research, what you submit is an abstract. The abstract, as we all know, is the summary of our research. So it uses an inverted funnel method, which is narrow at the top and broad at the bottom. So the narrow at the top part of the inverted funnel is the abstract, and then the cylindrical part is the research paper itself. So for an abstract, when you want to submit your abstract to a scientific conference or presentation, it's usually 350 words or 300 words. So you use that 350 words to summarize your entire research of 7,000 words or 10,000 words. So that is the inverted funnel method. Now the funnel method is the actual research paper where the top is large and it gets narrow at the bottom. And gets narrow at the bottom. So when you download the research paper, from the beginning to the end, you just keep seeing jargons. You'll see literature review, you'll see evidence synthesis, a lot of things, a lot of information. But when you really want to get the findings of that paper, then you go down to the conclusion. The conclusion is the most important part of the research paper. The conclusion and the results but the most important is the result, because that is what tells you what you have done. So the research paper uses a funnel method. It's broad at the top, literature review, 5,000 words of information. But as you get to the end of the paper, which is the conclusion, it becomes very narrow. So that is the model for research. We have the inverted funnel method for abstract, and then the funnel method for the actual research paper. And we use the format known as the IMRAT format: introduction, method, result, and discussion. So there are different types of scientific papers. I wouldn't read through, I will just highlight the very important ones. So we have original research papers. Back then when pharmacy school, for those of us who did our projects in farm micro, in PCH, farm chem, in pharmaceutics, right? So we went to the lab, we got reagents, you met your supervisor, you want to do a new research, he gives you a topic, and you begin, right? So what you did in the lab is called an original research, because you are presenting a new finding, something that has never been done in science. So it could be that you're trying to assess the sensitivity of 5 antibiotics towards Salmonella typhi or whatever gram-negative organism. That's a new research because it has never been done before. So the process it takes to write an original research, it's like few months to a year, because it involves a lot, right? So that is original research. You are synthesizing new information. You are not relying on already published data. You are providing your own data. Some other types is when you're going to the field. Maybe you want to do a knowledge assessment. You go to the field to carry out a feedback assessment or a pilot study. You go to a village to assess the impact of bad drinking water on the incidence of trypanosomiasis in the community. That is an original research. Now, for review papers, you don't have to go to the lab. You just sit on your desk with your laptop and you begin to go through hundreds of papers that have been published already. So what review paper does is that you're trying to extract new information from papers that have been published already. We have different kinds of review papers. We have systematic review papers. We have scoping review papers. We have literature review papers. There are lots of review papers. So there are different times. So the time from submission to publication ranges from several months to 1 year or more. Okay. So the next kind of paper is called the commentary and opinion. So commentaries are, for instance, let's say as we are today now, we are aware of the whole issues going on in the world, the trade war between the US and China, and a lot of things going on, the social political dynamics going on in Nigeria, the political crisis going on in River State. And as a scientist, as a young pharmacist, you want to assess how the global trade war has impacted the availability of drugs in Nigeria. That is a commentary, because you are trying to comment on something that is happening. It's your view, it's your opinion. Another name for the commentary is an opinion. You just want to share what you feel as a young professional, as an expert, how you think the political crisis in River State is affecting the availability of drugs in hospitals in River State. That is a commentary. You can submit it to a journal. You do not need to synthesize any new information. So when you submit this paper to a journal, it takes about 1 to 6 months from peer review, from submission to publication. And then the last kind of research paper is called the letter to the editor. And these are the shortest types of paper. These are the papers I started with doing research. These papers will not even stress you. You can, the maximum word limit for this paper is 1,000 words. Some journals may accept 1,500. Some journals may accept 1,000 words. So these ones are very short. You don't need to stress yourself. You just take up your laptop. It's similar to the commentary, but the only difference is that for commentaries, it takes about 3,000 words to 5,000 words. But for letter to the editors, it takes place, you just need about 1,000 or 750 words, and you submit it to the journal. This does not have a long time to peer review, because letter to the editors and do not undergo peer review. They are sent to the editor directly, and that is why it's called a letter to the editor. For the other types of research papers, when you submit it to a journal, they are going to look for reviewers, people that will review your papers. They are going to search for experts that will review your papers, and it will take a lot of time, because they send invitations to scientists and they turn it down. Even me, they've been sending me invitations to review papers, and me, need time. I don't have that time, so I don't accept it. So the journal has to keep searching and searching and searching for people who would review your papers until you can even hear from them. So that is why sometimes it takes 6 months to 1 year or even 2 years. In fact, very recently, one of my research papers was published, and it took 1 year and 6 months. So you can imagine, well, let's assume you submitted an original research on COVID-19 in 2020, and then you're now hearing from the journal now in 2025. The paper does not have any need again. There's no need because your paper has no impact on science again because that time has gone. So this is the reason why most researchers they circumvent and they explore the commentaries or letter to the editors, which have a shorter timeline. Someone speaking, I can hear some noise in the background.
Sorry, let me
Can I
mute.
quiet please?
Yes, you can
Okay,
continue.
okay, sorry, I can't see any messages. So when I'm done, we can just go over any concerns you may have. So this is the peer review process. I'm not going to shed so much of time on this, but the entire summary is this: when you submit the paper to the journal, just said it goes to the journal, and then they look for reviewers, reviewer one, reviewer two, and so on. People that review your papers. When they review your paper, they get back to you and they tell you, okay, Christopher, you need to adjust this your second paragraph. Just the same way when you do your project and you send it to your supervisor to review, it's the same process. The only difference is that this is online and you are submitting to a journal. So for those of us who have done our final year projects, the same thing you do with your supervisor is the same thing that is being done at the back end of the journal. Submit your paper to them and they review. They tell you change this, remove this paragraph, put this, and if you meet all the criteria, it gets accepted. However, letter to the editor, which is, as I mentioned, is the simplest kind of paper. It does not pass through this process. It goes straight to the editor. So if the editor likes it, it will get published. If it doesn't, it will get rejected. So you can even submit a paper today and tomorrow it gets accepted. Next week it gets published. That is how letter to editors are. So if you're a beginner, I would encourage you to start with that. As you go on with time, you build and consolidate your research expertise. Right. So the steps to planning and writing a research paper. Don't worry, I won't read all of this. I will just talk from my heart, right? So that it's be much more realistic. So when you want to write and you want to plan your research paper, first of all, you have to define your topic, right? You go to your supervisor, your school, your faculty assigns you to pharmaceutics, assigns you to farm care, and the next thing your supervisor asks you is, what topic do you want to do? In my own case, I selected my topic for myself. I told my supervisor what I wanted to do. I wasn't given a topic, but for some other students, for some other pharmacy students, you are being given a topic to do. So the first stage, the first step when you want to write a research paper is to define your topic. Of course, after which you must have identify the gap. The purpose of your topic is to address a gap in science. You cannot address a gap that is, you must be sure that this question has not been answered, and that is the gap you're trying to fill. Right. So after you must have selected your topic, then you plan your search. Your supervisor will tell you do literature review, do a scoping review, do a meta-analysis, do a pilot study, and all of that. You plan your search for different kinds of research papers. If you're working on a systematic review, the mistake people make is they just go online, they go to Google and punch their topic, and then that's not it. Before you start some research papers like a meta-analysis or a systematic review, you have to develop your protocol first before you even start searching. Searching that as good in it has got into it. So before you even start searching for papers, you must plan a protocol, what you do before you even start. So if you start searching for papers without planning your protocol, then you're shooting yourself in the leg. It's a step in the wrong direction. So of course, as we all know, you have to carry out literature review to identify gaps, and then you formulate your research questions. And you have to ensure that your research questions are specific, they are relevant, they are aligned with the scope of your study. And then you create an outline for your research paper. By the grace of God and Alhamdulillah, we've gotten to a point in the world where things have been made easy for us with the aid of AI. We have the ChatGPT 4.0, we have the Cloud, we have Gemini, we have a lot of tools. And believe you me, these tools are here to help us, right? So I think it's fortunate for me that I started doing research when these tools have not been in existence, when there was no ChatGPT, there was no AI. So I got my hands dirty. But now these tools are here to help us. You don't need to get your hands dirty like me. There's no award for suffering. So you can use your AI tools to develop your research outline. You can give a prompt to this AI tool. This is my topic. I'm working on this. This is the gap. Develop an outline for me. It makes your work easy. But if you want to take that extra mile to build your research capacity, then you can as well try to beat around the bush and develop your outline yourself. But I recommend use an AI tool for more productivity. These tools are here to help us. Some scholars will say don't use it, build yourself. There's no reward for suffering. Anything that can help you, use it. Right. So after you define your research questions, your research questions are what to guide your literature review. So let's assume you want to assess the sensitivity of cefuroxime towards 5 gram negative organisms. Now that is your topic. Now what are your research questions? How many gram negative organisms am I looking at? How many antibiotics am I looking to include in my study? What is the aim of my research? What is the objectives? When you have answers to these things are what will guide your literature review, because you'll be finding answers to those specific questions that you are trying to solve. So we have a lot of academic databases for research. We all did our final year project. So I'm sure we know PubMed, we know Google Scholar, we know PubChem. PubChem is for those who are into computer-aided drug design, CADD, bioinformatics, molecular biology and stuff. They use PubChem rather. So for public health, for pharmacy in general, you have the WHO databases, you have the CDC website, you have PubMed, you have Google Scholar, you have Web of Science, you have Scopus, you have MBase, you have ChemBio. You have a lot of academic databases. And then the next is to develop your search strategy. I would have loved to show a live demo, but hopefully maybe at the end of this session. So there's something called a search strategy. When people want to search, can I do a live demo? If that's
yes,
fine.
you can. Yes, you can.
Okay. Let me see. Okay, how do I? Okay. Okay. Incognito window. Can we see my screen, please?
Yes, we can see us.
Yes, we can.
Okay. So someone just give me a random topic. Just give me a random topic.
Breast cancer.
Medication utilization review.
Sorry?
Medication
Breast
utilization review among community pharmacy.
Medication utilization review
Among
amongst community
pharmacy.
pharmacists. Okay. So I'm going to search now. Let's see what comes out. Okay. So if you can look up, you'll see 28,400 results, right? So when we are being given project topics or want to write a research paper and then we need papers, we just go online and punch the topic, and then you see 28,400 results. How long do you have to start going through all those papers? Now there's something called search strategy. We use the Boolean search commands. What it means is that in your topic, you identify the keywords. Keyword meaning the things that you want to see in your research only. Now, for this topic, the keywords are medication utilization and community pharmacists. The review and amongst, they are not keyword. So what this search strategy means is that you identify your keywords and then you use Boolean search commands. We have and, we have or, and we have the use of quotes. So I'm going to show us how these things work. Now, I'm going to use the and format now. So we have medication utilization and community pharmacists as the keyword. So I'm going to put an and command in between them, and let's see what happens. Now you see, now we have 139,000 results. What this means is that it brings out every research paper that contains medication utilization and community pharmacists in the title. That is what it does. It brings everything. It brings everything that comes up. Now let's try another search command. Let's use the inverted, the quotation mark. What quotation mark does is that any research paper that does not contain your keywords would not come out. Now remember the first one without the search strategy brought 28,400 results. So let's see how many results this will bring out. You see, now this brought out 443 results from 28,400 results. Now, what this means is that all these papers that you are seeing here, these are papers that has to do with medication utilization and community pharmacists. This is what it means. All these papers that come out, all of them, they talk about medication utilization and community pharmacists. So you don't even need to start screening the papers one by one. The moment you use this search strategy, all the papers you need are at your beck and call. So let's try the next search command, which is the use of or, the ORO command. So what OR command, the OR command means is that you have your two keywords, medication utilization and community pharmacist. If I put an OR command in between them, it means that the papers I want should either talk about medication utilization or community pharmacists. You should talk about one or the other. And this happens when you are trying to evaluate maybe a research involving two different entities. Maybe you're trying to assess two drugs, two microorganisms, and what it is, and whatever it is. So use the all command. So let's see how many results comes out. Now we see 619,000 results came out from 28,400 to 443. You see, so the Boolean search command changes the dynamics of your research. It changes everything. So contemporarily, what people do is you have a research topic, you go online, you punch your paper, and you start stressing yourself. So these are the things that experts used to have an edge over the average pharmacist. This is the reason why I would have an edge over Pam Christopher. I'm sorry about that, Pam Christopher. Just had to use you. All right, so is that clear? Are we clear with that? I can't see your comments. I'll just rely on the voice I can hear. So are we fine with that? Can I move forward?
Yeah, it's fine. You're fine.
All right, awesome. So I've talked about literature review, how to select your sources, review titles, abstract, and keyword. Okay, so okay. So now you want to synthesize and summarize your findings. We've also talked about this. When you're done reviewing your research paper, you use the AND command or the OR command or the inverted command, which is the quotation mark. You get papers that are specific to what you want. So you have to do a kind of a scoping review, and then you synthesize the exact information which you want from the findings of your literature review. And then next is how to cite and reference. I'm not going to go into details so that my other facilitators will take their time to elaborate much deeply into this. Okay, so I've talked about creating an outline for a research topic. You can brainstorm, you brainstorm first, you identify main sections, you are using subtopics, but this is if you don't want to use a tool to help you. But I ask again, is there any reward for suffering? There's no reward for suffering. AI tools have been made to help us maximize it. Back then, when there was no ChatGPT, I don't use it for research, however, but I use it to adjust my outline. So back then, when there was no ChatGPT, no Meta AI, to do an outline, it takes me up to 5 hours because I have to read research papers. I have to do this, I have to do that. I'll spend 5 hours crafting an outline. That was way back. But now we have AI tools that are here to make the job easy for us. Punch your topic, give you the prompts that you need, tell him what you want, and it's going to bring out your outline for you. So why stress when you can just chill and jailo? So I encourage you to use it. But if you want to go the extra mile to learn how to do it by yourself, then it's fine. You can do that as well. All right. So the writing process, plagiarism, we all know what it is. We all went through pharmacy school. Plagiarism is simply, okay, we all know what it is, but I just want to bring a different perspective, right? The exams that we write, when we write the exams, let's say we have a farm chem exam or we have a farm micro exam, we read before the test or we read before the exam. And when we get into the exam hall, no matter how hard we try to cram exactly, sometimes we present the explanation in our own words. And that is simply the concept of paraphrasing, right? But plagiarism is you go into the exam hall and you go with a phone, you go with a chip, you go with an assistant, you copy word for word. That's plagiarism. But when you read and study, you cram, you try to explain it in your own words. That's paraphrasing. So I think that's the simplest explanation between plagiarism and paraphrasing I can give. Plagiarism, you're copying word for word, you're presenting it as your own, whereas it's not your own. You copied it from a phone and you submit to the lecturer thinking you're asking him to think it's your own word. It's not. That's plagiarism. But paraphrasing, you're presenting it in your own terms, in your own elements. So how to avoid plagiarism in research writing? Back then, you read a lot of research papers. Back then, there was no paraphrase. I think now we have a lot of paraphrasing tools. There is pre-boot now. Back then, I didn't come across such. It was about 3 years ago I heard about pre-boot. So we have paraphrasing tools that you can use now. ChatGPT even does paraphrasing. But how to avoid it? You need to learn the principles of good writing. If you want to be a 5-star researcher, you want to be a 10-star researcher, you have to read. The more you read, the more you learn, right? And doing research also helps your vocabulary because it gives you, like, your diction is amazing. You have a good command of words. It helps you. The more you read, the more you learn, the more you increase your vocabulary. It's very much helpful. It enhances your dynamics as a young professional, right? So the more you read research papers, the more you learn. You learn to present research in your own terms, and then learn how to paraphrase a source with your own words. If you read a paper that says, this boy killed the dog, in your own term, you can say the dog was killed by the dog. Or if you want to go further, you can say I was walking on the road and I saw the boy, he took a stone and he hit the dog and the dog died. Those are just approaches to circumvent, to not paraphrase. You are presenting it in your own words. And then most importantly, when you cite or you paraphrase, you have to cite properly. For instance, a paper by Christopher et al. 2023 said that levofloxacin or cefuroxime is effective against gram or 5-gram positive organisms. That is what he said in his research. Now I'm trying to paraphrase them. Even if I am presenting it in my own words, you still have to cite Christopher et al. Paraphrasing does not mean you copy word for word and you cite. That is still plagiarism. Even if you cite, as long as it's word for word, it's plagiarism. So you have to present in your own words and then you cite accordingly. So, yeah, writing strong conference abstracts. Some people might be amazed at my profile, having won scholarships to different countries to go and present my research. So all of that was done through submitting an abstract. Like I said before, an abstract is a 350 words. Just submit 300 words. Once your abstract get accepted, you win your scholarship, you travel out of the country, you go and, meet people, build yourself as a young professional. It's not rocket science. That is all that have worked for me. All the countries I've been to, I don't do much work. I just submit an abstract, 250 words, it gets accepted, and they give me my scholarship, JJ, and I go and do what I know how to do best. So I've talked about this before. This is just the anatomy of a scientific paper. It's called the IMRAT format: introduction, method, results, and discussion. And then for those of us who read my bio and they were like, this guy has won a lot of scholarships. Me too, I want to win scholarships. So these are the conferences that provide fully funded travel grants and scholarships. Your flights will be taken care of, your visa will be taken care of, your accommodation will be taken care of, your feeding will be taken care of. Some conferences give allowances. When I was in Germany last year, the allowance they gave to us, the naira equivalent was about 1.2 million naira for just 1 week. The flights they paid, was about 3.7 million naira. That was the money they paid though for me to go and present my research. About 3.7 million naira to and fro from France to Germany and back to Nigeria. My visa was paid for. I didn't pay a dime. I was lodged in a 5-star hotel. I didn't pay a dime. My feeding, everything is fully funded. That's why it's called the fully funded scholarship. And this thing is accessible through what? An abstract. Just submit 350 words. That's all. They are not asking you to bring the eye of a pregnant elephant or the leg of a virgin mosquito. No, just submit an abstract, 350 words, and it would change the scope of your career as a young professional. So these are the conferences: FIP World Congress of Pharmacy and Pharmaceutical Sciences. I won this travel scholarship in my third year of pharmacy school. That was in 2022. The conference was held in Spain that year. The International AIDS Conference, which was the one I won it in 2023 to Australia, but I didn't get my visa. And then last year again, I won the scholarship again to Germany, which I went and presented my research. And then we have the Global Forum of Nicotine. For those of us who are interested in tobacco harm reduction, how to formulate more therapies that are much more safer for patients. We have the nicotine gum, we have the patch, we have they call it shisha or something, the one that is safe. So there are conferences that want to see people who can formulate much more better alternatives to cigarettes and Igbo and the rest of all these things. So we have the Africa CDC conference, which is usually held every year. I got a scholarship last year, but something happened in the country that they were supposed to host it, so it was postponed, and we haven't heard from them. Then we have the International Association of for Youth Mental Health Conference. This was the one I won in my first year. That was in Australia. And then we have the INHSU conference, right? We have the IWHP conference. I won this last year. The conference held in Australia. And then we have the International Conference for AIDS and sexually transmitted infections in Africa. So for the IES conference, it's done. These conferences are done every year. Few weeks ago, I think it's still on. Okay, so in 2022, the award I won from the FIP, which is the National Pharmaceutical Federation, is the Mike Howe Award. So the Mike Howe Award is for young pharmacists or pharmacy students who have an interest in industrial pharmacy. So back then, I was an industrial pharmacy freak. My life was industrial pharmacy. I published a lot of papers on industrial pharmacy. So when I applied for this scholarship, I got it and it was fully funded. The conference held in Spain that year. So the application should still be on. I think it's still on. And this year's conference is going to take place in Denmark. That's in Europe. So if you apply, you demonstrate your passion for the field of industrial pharmacy, and you win by the special grace of God. Flight, everything to Denmark is assured. By the grace of God, I was the first pharmacy student to win this award, the first pharmacy student in Nigeria to win this award. And I'm hoping that I would have a lot more students and young pharmacists who are going to win this award. The IES conference is done every year. This year's conference is going to take place in Rwanda. Some of my mentees won this scholarship. They won a fully funded scholarship, and it's going to be their first time out of the country. I'm very, very proud as a mentor. And hopefully, if work doesn't coincide, I hope to join them as well. So the AIDS conference is also done every 2 years for the AIDS conference. The IES conference is done every year. And then, so you just take a screenshot, or I will share this presentation after now so that you can go through it at your leisure time. So thank you very much for having me, and I hope this session was expository and enlightening. Thank you so much.
Wow, thank you very much, Fam Melody. Can we give Fam Melody a warm thank you in the chat? All right, so we will take questions now. If you have, I think some hands are already raised. Yes, some hands are already raised. So we'll just take some questions. Sorry, I'm trying to get. Okay, let's start with Farm Promise Kamsi Yochuku.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for Melody. So my question is, when you have a research, how do you choose the journal you want to send it to? But I want to find out that some journals have their, their outline too, on how your research paper should be structured and stuff like that. So how do you choose? Do you check out for the journal first before writing, or when you are done writing, you just go and check?
Okay. All right. So what I do is the moment I have my topic, first of all, what you should do first is a literature review. So to know if something has been done on that topic before. And in the process of a literature review, you are going to find papers that are relevant to your work. And when you find papers that are relevant to your work, what I do, the journals that they are published in, those are the journals that are more likely to accept your work because they have accepted relevant publications in recent times. So different journals traditionally they have their different formats, not outlined. They have some formats. Some journals prefer APA referencing style. Some journals prefer Harvard. Some journals prefer Vancouver. Some journals prefer APA in-text citation, which is Okereke Melody et al. Some journals prefer the numerical citation, which is one in square brackets. Some journals prefer superscripts, one in superscripts. So when you want to write your research paper, what I do, I have the journal first. I have to know the journal I am submitting
Welcome.
to so that it makes my work easy. I don't want to finish writing a research paper
This
and then I now go and check the journal, and the journal tells me we need 2,000 words, whereas I've written 5,000 words already. So we don't want to stress ourselves. So what I do is I get the journal first, the journal of interest, and then I just use their formats to write my research paper directly. So that's what has worked for me over the years, and I believe it should help you as well. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you. What about some journal that you call high pass or stuff like that? I know my source submission something I would like. high impact journals?
Okay. Okay. So in research, right, we use ranking. There's what we call Scopus rankings. Journals are being ranked on the number of, for instance, if I publish a paper in International of Pharmacy, and that journal has 1,000 citations, the credit is going to the journal. Like, it shows that this journal publishes high quality papers. So the ranking of the journal increases, right? So we have what we call Scopus rankings. Different journals have different rankings. The reason why your lecturer is telling you that you should publish in a high impact journal is that if you want to seek a promotion in the academic setting as a lecturer, you want to get promoted, they check for the journals you're publishing. If as a young person you want to apply for a PhD, PhD means you have published a paper in your master's, you publish your master's thesis, you want to apply for a PhD. The journal that you publish in, they check for it. Because if you publish in a journal, maybe what journal would I even use? Let's say Okirike University Journal of Science. Who is Okirike University Journal of Science? No one knows that. It's, don't even send your paper there, right? But these days, people want to publish. Okirike Journal of Science will tell you bring 10,000 naira, we'll publish it tomorrow, and people will pay. And they go on LinkedIn. I am glad to share that I published my research paper. Every day they are publishing new research papers. Sometimes I see those posts and I just, my initial gragra, well, let's everybody just enjoy and have fun, right? So I think there was even recently on Twitter, there was this doctor that got called online that forged, I don't know, one Dr. Okun or something. He published a lot of papers. People just send papers to Sakamanji journals just to belong. I'm a researcher. It doesn't work that way. During this session, I noted that I published a paper. I sent the paper for publication, and it got published about 1 year and 6 months later. Credible journals, that is how they take their time to review. They go through every sentence one by one. So your lecturer is not out of place telling you to publish in high impact journal, because it will help you. We have so many top journals today. We have Lancet. Some of us know Lancet. We have Lancet. We have Cell. We have BMJ, British Medical Journal. One paper in Lancet is more than 20 papers in Okereke and Sons Journal of Pharmacy. One paper in Lancet. That is how powerful these journals are. Can you hear me? So you can know what someone is speaking. Okay. So the unfortunate thing is that for these high impact journals, their rejection, the possibility of rejection is very high. A high impact journal wants a high impact paper. So I hope that addresses your concern. Otherwise, let me know and I'll share some further insights. Thank you.
But thanks a lot.
All right. The next person is Oluwashugu family.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much for the insightful session. My question is actually on submission of bodies abstract for Exazome before opportunities, conferences, and some webinar ended. What I've learned was that abstract is like.
I can't hear you, please. I can't hear you.
Like abstract now is what you write,
Okay.
like maybe you do a review or when you are done with your manuscript or something. So my question is, for these all these conferences, you want to submit abstract for these opportunities, and it's like based on how you said, it's just like that's I don't really understand the aspect in terms that is it that you just coin your topic and just go into
Okay, all right. I get you. So the trick there is this: an abstract is a summary of a research. An abstract, let's just get that, is a summary of a research, which means the research should have been done already. Now, what people do these days, which is not wrong, what people do these days is, if they want to submit an abstract to a journal, young people in particular, most of my researches at international conferences are systematic reviews and meta-analysis. These things do not take me time to do. For instance, the last year's conference, the 8th conference, took place in July, and the call for abstracts was in December 2023. The call for abstract was in December 2023, and the conference was in July. The deadline for the call for abstract was in April. So I had 4 months. I had 4 months to do what I had to do, and it's a lot. It's sorry, not a lot. It's short. Okay, it's a lot of time, right? So my research, someone is speaking. So my research was evaluating the impacts of pharmaceutical patents on access to HIV drugs in Africa. So it was a review from 1990 to 2020. It was a systematic review and a meta-analysis in one. So I could do that within that 4 month period. I did the research and then I summarized it and then I submitted. So for scientific conferences, you can only present researches that is ongoing or that is new, right? So research that is ongoing. So at the 8th conference, you meet researchers whose labs developed maybe an antibody for a specific HIV antigen. It has not been published in a journal. So you're going there to present it to researchers who will come and criticize your work. The purpose of presenting is for researchers to see what you are doing and ask questions and tell you how to improve. So when you present your work and you gather feedback from these researchers, then you refine your work and then submit it to a journal for publication. But you don't submit a paper to a journal before submitting to a conference, because they're even going to ask you, they'll ask you to declare that this paper has not been previously submitted or presented in a conference previously. So it's a conflict of interest that you have to declare, right? So summarily, you have to do the research first before you submit your abstracts. But systematic reviews are approaches that you can use to circumvent that time constraints. So I hope this answers your question, from Promise.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any other concerns?
Yes, we have some questions in the chat box. Should I read them out, or would you?
Okay, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
All right. So from Chidima's question is, so the original research is better if it would be something that would have an effect in a long term?
Every research is important, although there are scales of priorities, but every research is important. A lot of my research papers are commentaries. Some of them are letter to the editors. But the only thing is, it's good to have a balanced profile. It's good to have a review. It's good to have an original research. It's good to have a commentary. It's good to have letter to the editor. Because if you are applying for scholarships, these guys check the kinds of people. Like, they click on the links. They don't just see it and they pass. They click on the links to know what paper is this. For instance, as a 200 level student now, I want to apply for a scholarship, and I published a paper titled "The Impacts of let's say HIV seroprevalence in 51 African countries." I'll be like, this guy, 200 level students near. So how come? So they'll click on the paper to check what kind of paper is this, and they'll find out that okay, it's a letter to the editor, it's a commentary. They'll be like, it's a normal thing, right? So, but it's good to have a balanced profile, have an original research, but it takes a lot of time, as I did specify. An original research can take up to 1 year or even 2 years or more. Believe you me. While letter to the editors, one week, 2 weeks, 1 month, and you are good to go. But if I were to advise, I would advise you to go for more original research papers. Don't stretch your career with commentaries and letter to the editors. Publish more original research. But for a start, you need to start with a letter to the editors. But these are what you use to solidify your expertise as a body researcher. Yeah, so that's my opinion, however. Thank you very much.
All right, so someone asked if you can get the slide.
Sorry? The slides, of course, yeah,
Someone
why not?
asked,
Sure. Yes, I will. I will share it with you after the session.
All right. What is the best journal one can submit? What is the best journal someone can submit a manuscript in clinical pharmacy to? And how does one go about it? And what makes a manuscript different from a research paper?
Okay. So like I said before, what I do, what has worked for me, if I want to know the journal, I would submit my paper to, right? When you are doing your literature review, you have your keywords. I showed us how to use the Boolean search commands. When you find out those papers that are relevant, that are related to your research, check the journals that they are published in. Those journals are the best. They are the journals that are more likely to accept your paper. So that is what has worked for me. Oh. But some people will go online and search journals for clinical pharmacy, journals for industrial pharmacy. I don't do that. Your research paper, when you've done your literature review, you'll find people that are relevant or very related to your research papers. Those journals that they are published in, they are good journals worth exploring. They are more likely to accept your research paper, right? And then she asked again that what's the difference between a research paper and what? I didn't get that again, please.
Manuscripts.
A research paper and a manuscript. Okay, a manuscript is a research paper that has not been published. When you're submitting your paper to the journal, it's a manuscript. When it gets published, it's a research paper. That's what I feel based on my experience over the years. Right. So a manuscript is a work in progress. A research paper is a work that's finished. I don't know if my co-facilitators have some words to share. I can see Ade Doing and Bodun Damilola. Even if it's not their session, they might add one or two comments on this. But that is what I feel. The manuscript is in progress. Okay, please go ahead.
I just wanted to invite them to contribute if they can.
Okay. I did enjoy. Bodun, and these are my guys. They are my. I mean, we've done work in recent times. Okay, yeah, awesome. Welcome, Chief.
I'm good. How is everything going?
Oh, good, my brother.
Thank you very much for this insights and all. So for the manuscript, I think you said it. A manuscript is something unpublished, and a publication is an accepted manuscript. I think that is the same thing we're saying.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. So I think that says it all. Yeah.
Okay, someone asked, so what type of research can you do in a day? Not for publication yet, but for a research group. You can't go in depth based on there is limited time. I think she's asking for the shortest type of research to do.
Okay, what kind of research can you do in a day? I'm sorry, but I won't call that a research. I won't call that a research because there's no research that you can, except like for me, Sha, if I can use a day to write a commentary or a letter to the editor, but I cannot. I don't think anybody in this world can use one day to do a systematic review, to write it from start. Even a commentary itself, one day, I might still extend it to 2 days or 3 days because it's a lot of work. You have to do a lot of reading before you even start, right? So I'm sorry, this may not be the response you want to hear, but I wouldn't advise to use one day to write a research paper. Well, thanks to ChatGPT and AI, people can write research papers in 20 minutes these days. But it's ethically not recommended. You need to put in the work. You need to do your literature review, and So I know the consent she has is that tied to the letter to the editor, which doesn't take a lot of time. But even if the letter to the editor, sometimes it takes more than a day to write. Although you can write that in one day, when you submit to the journal, if the editor feels like this work can make substantial contributions to the field of science, then it can get published. But it doesn't even get published in the next day or next 2 days. It can take up to a week or 2 weeks from acceptance to publication. So you can't do any research in one day. Don't attempt it. I don't recommend that. So that's it from my experience over the years. Yeah, thank you.
Before I move on to the next question, please can you speak more on the relationship that research papers have with AI? Like, to what extent can we use AI for research?
To what extent can we? Sorry, I didn't get the first part.
Like the relationship most research papers, high impact papers have with AI tools. So to what extent can we use ChatGPT?
Okay, I won't say you can't use it because even high impact journals, Lancet, BMJ, Cell, They will tell you to declare that you used an AI tool for some parts of the research, meaning it is now even accepted. You are allowed to use it, but you must declare that you use it. So I won't come and tell you not to use it if the people leading science in the world have said you can use it. So it's fine, you can use it, but do not use it excessively. The last time I read the integrity protocol for the use of AI, I think they said it's you can only use AI for under 20% of your research work. So the only time you can use AI is if it doesn't exceed 20% of your entire work. You can't use your AI for results. You can use your AI for the introduction, to refine your method, not to do the method, to refine it, which means you will give it the information what you did, and it helps you to adjust your tense, your grammar to suit professional and scientific terminologies. But for your results, you cannot tell your AI, ChatGPT, give me the result of this research. But possible now, you're the one that did it, so you have to do the result yourself. And then your recommendation, your conclusion. People use AI to do conclusion. It is wrong, oh. It's my perspective, however, it's wrong. You're the one that did the research, you did the finding. What are your recommendations? If you ask an AI based on the result I've gotten, give me recommendations. That means it's no more your research. You're not talking as an expert. It's not an expert opinion. It's an AI assisted expert opinion, right? So a lot of my my mentors, they don't even use ChatGPT for anything. They write from their head from start to finish. When you read recommendations, you know that okay, this guy, this person is an expert. In fact, if I see a recommendation within 2 seconds, I would know if this thing is ChatGPT's work or not. Like I've been doing research for over 5 years now. I know a research paper that is done by human and one that is done by research. There are clauses I can use to know if this is an AI's work. I would have loved to share some stuff. I think that's my little secret. But there are a lot of clauses. Once I see a work, I can tell in 2 seconds if this work is done by ChatGPT or not. Even if you try to humanize it, I would know. I've been in the game for over 6 years now, so I know a human written work when I see one. So to answer that, you can use AI tools. These things are here to help us. There's no award for suffering. Use it to refine your work, but do not depend on it entirely. If you're a new beginner in research, please get your hands dirty. Try to learn research on your own. Do not consult AI for everything because it won't help you. If if my research career was with ChatGPT, I wouldn't be invited to come and speak. I wouldn't even know what to say. But I'm speaking from my heart because it's in the blood, it's in the veins. So I encourage young people here, if you are at the beginning of a research journey, do not start with ChatGPT. They are good, but they won't help you. Get your hands dirty, learn, reach out to mentors, and do the actual work. Right. So yeah, that's it from me. Thank you.
Okay, someone asked, how do you get your research into high impact journals like Lancet? Do they provide scholarship?
Okay, okay. When you're submitting to a journal, you don't there is no such thing as a scholarship. What we have is what we call APC, article processing charges. You pay a particular amount of money to get your paper published. But for me, since I was born, I have over 70 publications now. I've never paid a dime to publish my papers. Not because not because my dad is a babalawo or no. You can request for waiver. Like throughout my career, I always request for waivers. There are secrets to navigate it. For Lancet in particular, if you want to publish a paper in Lancet, I think as at the last time I checked, it was about $2,500. Is he a young pharmacist that is still doing 9 to 5 in a reputable pharmacy that you want to spend $2,500 for research paper? Is not possible now. So there are techniques that we use to circumvent those things. And one popular technique is that there are some countries that are classified as low income countries. Those journals, those countries, if you have a corresponding author from that country, you won't pay a dime. But if you're using Nigeria as your, like if I'm the one submitting to the author and I am the corresponding author, Nigerians have 50% article waiver. you pay 50% of the money. But then there are some countries like Rwanda, like Congo, like Burkina Faso, those countries in Africa, those low-income countries, the way to circumvent it is if you have a researcher in that country that you want to collaborate with, you can let them be the corresponding author. They submit to the journal, then you don't have to pay a fee, right? But in my own case, by the grace of God, I've been lucky enough to always get full waivers. I don't pay any dime to get my paper published. So you don't, there's no scholarship to publish your papers. And she asked how to get your papers published in high impact journals. The way to get your papers published in high impact journals is to submit your paper. I don't think there's any other way to express this. Submit your paper. If it gets accepted, if they feel like this paper would contribute more to the field of science, it's going to get accepted. But if they feel like this paper is not there, it's not giving, Gen Z will say it's not giving, then they'll reject it. And then you search for other journals to publish in. Right. So Lancet is a it's one, I think it's arguably the best journal in the world, the most respectable journal in the world. And I think some students from UI, I saw a publication recently. Some undergraduate students from UI, they sent a paper to Lancet and it was published. These are students who not professors. So it doesn't matter what level you are, as long as your paper is amazing, it brings new knowledge to science, then voila, it's good. It's gonna get published. So these are my opinion. Yeah. So please go ahead.
Someone said, can you give more details on how to write a letter to the editor?
Okay. Letter to the editor. There's a format, a general format for journals. All journals have their different formats. If you want to submit to the Journal of Clinical Pharmacy, you go to in fact, not all journals accept letter to the editor. So you have to check the journal first. They all have a format for letter to the editors. But traditionally, the word counts for letter to the editors are usually between 750 to 1,000. So the only difference in the journals will be the format. Some journals will want APA citation, some want Vancouver, some want Harvard, some want MLA and the rest of them. Some want APA in text, Okiriki et al., Okiriki 2024. Some want Vancouver in text, which is square brackets 1. Some want superscripts. So that will be the difference. But it's not difficult. The opening intro of the paper is Dear Editor, but some papers you don't need to. It's just like an actual paper, but it's shorter, right? And some journals say 5 references, some journals say a maximum of 5, a maximum of 7, and the author should not be more than 3. So those are the differences. But letter to the editors are very easy. They're the simplest kind of papers to write. Yeah.
Right. Someone asked, how is systematic review done? Do we have a session on systematic and scientific review tomorrow, or we can still answer the question?
Okay. I think that's not something to answer in a few seconds. That's the reason why we have a different session for that, because systematic review, even the name tells you it is systematic. Systematic reviews and meta-analysis, those ones, they are more complex kind of papers that will need a lot more time to digest. So before you even start a systematic review, if facilitators will tell you tomorrow that you need to set up your protocol, your research protocol, all those things. You need to do those things first before you even start. So they will dwell on that. Just I encourage you to attend the session tomorrow. These are my guys. Bodun is my guy. We've published a lot of papers together. We've done lots of research projects together. We've done some works on computer-aided drug design in the past. So I can vouch that they are good at what they do. So I'm very sure they will do justice to the topic. So look forward to tomorrow. Thank you.
All right. Someone asked about the WhatsApp group. The WhatsApp group link is on our LinkedIn post. Just check LinkedIn. Someone asked, my abstract got accepted for poster presentation for an upcoming conference. Any tips that can help during presentation?
Okay, for a poster presentation, okay, based on my experience, I would always talk based on my experience, right? Despite how vast I am, I still have people I pay homage to. I still have my bosses. So The conference would have their own format for poster presentation. They'll have their guidelines for IAS conference. I don't know if this is the conference this person is talking about. If your poster is presented for an international conference, they give you the guidelines on how to prepare your poster. So those guidelines would inform and influence how they would be done, how they would be designed. So there is no one size fits all rule for posters. The journal, the conference tells you how they want you to present your poster. So yeah, and then when you're done, you reach out to your mentor and experts to look at it and give an eagle's eye and share comments where necessary. So yeah.
Next question is, for the letter to the editor research, how do we get to send it to the editor? Is it through an email?
Okay, so different journals have different ways to send papers, but from my experience, if you're submitting a paper to a journal and they say send through an email, based on my experience, journals like that are usually predatory journals. They are they are not they are substandard journals. I don't want to say fake journals because there are some credible journals that also use emails. I don't know why they use emails because even as a young person as I am, as a career professional development enthusiast, I will not tell someone to submit something to me through email. I'll put a Google form for you to upload it. I'll go and check when I want to. So standard journals today, they have some frameworks that they use to accept publications. We have different kinds of platforms. We have Research Exchange. Is a system that is used by journals in the world today to accept publications, to accept manuscripts. So how to send a letter to the editor? It's still the same way. You log into the journal, you create an account, you go through the formats for letter to the editor, you adjust your paper to meet that guideline, and then you submit it as you submit every other paper. So that's it. There's no different way to submit it. It's just like every other paper. So yeah.
All right. Someone asked, hi fam, your presentation was good. As a student, there are some terms and words that I do not understand. For a student who is interested in research, I know there are things to learn before getting started. Can you provide advice or recommendations concerning this?
Yeah. Before I started doing research, before I started writing research paper, I used to write papers. I used to write health articles. I think way back, that was before I gained admission. And when I gained admission, my other level, I used to send my papers for publication in Vanguard newspaper, in Tribune Online newspaper, in all those top newspapers. Those were the things I started with. And blogs. I used to send my papers to blogs to publish, to blogs and newspapers. And after some time, when my research skills were, becoming, I was quite becoming an expert, a boss. My skills were becoming improved, so I transitioned into scientific writing. So we have scientific writing, we have academic writing, we have blog writing. There are different kinds of writing, right? So you can start with blogs. You can start with your local chapter, pants. If you're still a student, pants now, you have your editors. They do call for articles for magazines. Start from there. It's an amazing place to start. Believe you me. Start from there. As time goes on, when you become more proficient, you learn more, then you can transition um into research papers. But what I advise, do not do your research in isolation. You can't do it alone. You should have mentors, people that are mentoring, people that you look up to. When these people see that, okay, this guy is becoming good, they add you to their research group. So you even join them to write their research paper. You start by collaborating with people. When I started my research career, it was, in fact, my formative years in research was through collaborations. I collaborated with lots of people, but as I climbed up the research ladder, lots of my papers were solo papers. I did lots of papers alone. Currently, my goal for this year is to publish 25 papers. And for some of them, they are solo papers, like I'm doing them alone. It's just a personal goal. I want to publish 10 papers alone. Then some other papers would be in collaboration with my professional colleagues. So yeah, I hope that answers you. Thank you.
All right. Someone asks, what about research like drug design or isolation of active principle from plant extracts that involves carrying out an actual experiment?
Okay, what about research? What exactly is the question? What
I think they're
about research?
asking
Like,
how it differs, how lab work differs from other types of research,
okay,
right?
okay. When I started this session, I talked about different kinds of research papers. We have original articles that would be going to the lab. Once you're going to the lab to do a research, that is an original research because you are creating new evidence. You are synthesizing new evidence that has not been done before. If you're working on something on molecular biology, on bioinformatics, computer-aided drug design, even if you're using your laptop to do your modeling, it's still an original research because you are synthesizing new information. It could be that you're trying to evaluate the bioactivity of Theopharia occidentalis on maybe a specific disease or a specific receptor in the body, right? So for that is an original research paper. That's an original research paper. But if you're using your laptop to work on something like a letter to the editor, a commentary, a systematic review, those do not count. Okay, some systematic reviews count as original research papers. Something like a meta-analysis can count as one in some cases. But traditionally, letter to the editors, commentaries, opinions, viewpoints, they don't count as original research. Original research has to do with bringing, like, synthesizing new information, going to the lab, going to the village to interview people, pilot studies. Yeah, even this kind of research, which the ones that you have to evaluate the AKAP study, which is trying to evaluate the knowledge, awareness, and this is are things I used to do so many years ago. KP study, a pilot study, you want to evaluate the understanding of pharmacy students towards pharmacogenomics or something. Those can count as original research as well because you are synthesizing new information. But for commentaries, you are not synthesizing new information. You're relying on papers that have been published already. So it's not original. It's not original. So I hope that clarifies the concern you have. Thank you.
All right, someone is asking for an estimate of the number of systematic reviews they need to apply for PhD without doing masters.
Okay. So I think this question is born of the environment. Maybe you've heard people who have 100 publications, Melody has 70 publications, this person has 100 publications. See, one publication is enough. Like, when you want to apply for scholarships, these guys abroad, they don't even expect a student to have an original research. For real. They don't, because the only time you get to do an original research over there is during your master's thesis or your PhD thesis. That is when you are expected to publish an original research paper. But for we in Nigeria, we have good guys. We have guys who are good. Even in undergrad, my chief here, Damilola Bodun, my chief, he has published a lot of papers, and I don't think he had a PhD yet. Do you? I'm not sure. Well, he has published a lot of high quality papers that should be published by professors and PhD scientists. But he's not yet a doctor, he's not yet a professor, and we have guys that are good. So there is no limit to the amount of papers that you need. You can publish as much as, even if you have just one paper, it's fine. There are people who have won scholarships, Commonwealth scholarships, Mastercard scholarships for their masters without a publication. So research papers are not compulsory. But I shared an analogy before. If you're applying against thousands of other people, it is going to set you apart, right? So it's not compulsory, but it is necessary. It's better for you to have it and not need it than for you to need it and not have it. You're applying for a Commonwealth scholarship now. The minimum CGPA you need is 3.5. And if you're done with pharmacy school and due to one reason or the other, you are not able to make it, you're not able to make a 3.5 GPA, unfortunately, you will not be able to apply for this scholarship. So it's better for you to have it and not need it. that need it and not have it. Right. So I hope that clarifies the concern you have. Thank you.
All right. Someone asked, are there schools or training you can recommend for people interested in going into research to learn?
Okay. So when I started my research journey, um, I enrolled in an online course called um, Research Writing in the Sciences. It's hosted by an organization called INASP. That's the International Network for the Availability of Scientific Publications. So just search online, research writing in the sciences. That was the course that I started with. It's really helped me as a young researcher. So that was what helped me. But amazingly, we have people these days that do boot camps. I I used to do a boot camp for research writing. I know my chief here, Godun Damilola, he does a boot camp on computer aided drug design. I don't know if that's still on. Is it still on, sir? If it's still on
Oh
the call.
yes, yes, we're still on. We're still on.
Awesome. So he runs a boot camp on computer aided drug design. So if your goal is to become a computer aided drug scientist, you want to identify bioactive compounds, like you're interested in drug discovery, drug design, Udun is your guy. Like he comes in highly recommended. We've done works before. So if that is what you want to do, you can reach out to him. He's running a boot camp. You register and then you become one of the most sought after young drug scientists in the world. So yes, you can enroll in online courses and you can enroll in boot camps that are being offered by top researchers. So yeah.
All right. Someone asked for your contact and mail. I think
Okay, feel free. Yeah, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn, on Twitter, any platform. You can send my contact to the group. I'm aware you have a group, right?
yes.
Yeah, but I may take some time to respond because I'm usually at work. I'm even at work like this. We're about to close, so I may take some time to respond, but I will definitely respond, no matter how long it takes. I will definitely. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. We'll just take one more question and then take Zainab's question, then round up. So Fam Chilima asked, how are you able to research on 25 papers? Won't you get confused on the different stuff you're researching, plus time constraints?
Okay, how am I able? Okay, these 25 research papers. Okay, it's not research papers alone, no. Like I write for think tanks, I write for newspapers, and I write for research as well. So it's a mix of primary and secondary research papers. And the 25 papers is for 1 year. It's even too small. Like I just don't want to overstretch myself. But if if I'm to get serious with it, I can do 50 papers in a year. I can do more than 50 papers in a year if I really want to. So for me, it's different because I've built my capacity over the years. This would be my 6th year or 7th year doing research. I've been doing research even before I gain admission into pharmacy school, right? So I've been in the game for long. So I won't get confused. I already have a list of topics which I've written down that I want to write on. I have my outline already. So every weekend I take some time out, maybe 1 hour on Saturdays to write one. So thus far, I've published 7 papers out of 25. So I still have 18 papers to go. And this is just April. I have 18 papers to go. I'm even slow. So there's no concern whatsoever. I'm good. I'm good. Yeah. And while working as a pharmacist, okay, you just have to create time for it, Jerry. You just have to. If you're always working 9 to 5 in a reputable pharmacy, when you're done, your life will end in the pharmacy now. You do your masters, you do your PhD, you want to win scholarships. So don't confine yourself to the pharmacy or create time for yourself, create time for your career. You need it, right? So that's my recommendation. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. So we'll just take Fam Zainab's question, then I will round up.
Okay.
Okay, good evening, everyone. So my question is, you talked about how long it takes for original research to be published, but like, how do
Okay.
you pick a topic that will be able to like beat the time, like that no matter any time they like authorize the research or something, be able to like publish it and it will not like be out of date. Thank you.
So I didn't get you. Can you please come again?
Like you talked about original research and you said it takes time for it to be published and for them to like authorize it. You said like sometimes 2 years or 2 years. But like
Okay.
how do you pick a topic that will like beat the time? You know, since it's going to take time for you to get published, like how do you pick a topic that no matter any time you're publishing, it's not going to be out of date?
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Before I answer this, is this Zainab Balogun I know? Because I have a classmate named Zainab Balogun. Are you the one?
Oh, she's not the one.
Okay. That's fine. Because I have a classmate named Zainab Balogun. So yeah, there is no how do they say it? Is it fast rule or there's a term for it. There's no way to circumvent the peer review process. Your job as a researcher ends at the submission. Anything after the submission does not concern you again. The journal can take 6 months or 1 year. That you have nothing to do about it. You have to wait to when they are done. So the peer review process, I shared one framework. It takes a lot of time. So unfortunately, there's no way to beat it. You have to wait till all the reviewers are finished reviewing your work before you can know what next. Although for letter to the editors, it does not undergo peer review. It is sent directly to the editor. So your letter to the editor is not assigned to reviewer one or reviewer two. It is being reviewed by the editor alone, and in short, so it takes a lesser time for you to hear from the journal. But if it's a commentary you're writing, a 5,000 word commentary or a systematic review gone. Once you submit it, just go and get married because it's going to take a lot of time before you hear from them or an original research paper. Right. So there's no way to circumvent. You just have to chill and wait for the journal to get back to you. Yes, ahead. Someone just said something. Yes, it depends on the availability of the active reviewers. That's the truth. Because I actually talked about something. A lot of journals have sent me invitations to review some papers, but I've been turning them down because I don't have the time. And that is how they'll keep searching for reviewers one after the other until they get one. So the journal can even take 6 months searching for reviewers. So while you're there waiting for the journal, you'll be thinking they're reviewing your paper, but sometimes they are still looking for people to review your paper. So there is no hard and fast rule. You just have to wait to whenever journal gets back to you. Right? Yes.
All right. Thank you very much, Fam Melody. Thank you very much for making out the time. I'll just say a few things before I invite the state coordinator to give her closing remarks. The first is that we would upload the recording to our website or to a Google Drive so people can have access to it. I know someone asked in the chat. The second is that we have other sessions that will cover other aspects. And so I omitted some questions because those are things we'll cover tomorrow and next. And then finally, we would have an evaluation after this bootcamp. So I really hope that we're listening and taking notes. So with that said, I would like to welcome the state coordinator, Stephanie Obibi, to give her closing remarks so we can round up.
Thank you, Chris. Please, can you confirm you can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, okay. We can. All right. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Fab Melody.
Good evening, my
I don't know what to say, but it's quite impressive to know that why pharmacognosy and pharmchem was trying to kill some of us. Some people are still trying to pursue their dreams as well. It's very impressive. Thank you so much for honoring our invitation. It has been an impactful session. We appreciate you. from the leadership of PSN-YPG Lagos to say thank you once again. Um, Thank you, young pharmacists. I can see young pharmacists across states from Uyo, Abuja, Delta State. Thank you so much for joining. So it's a 3-day intensive writing bootcamp. We saw how intense today was. So I hope to see you guys tomorrow and next. We have not Farm Melody coming up tomorrow. We have another speaker that will be very wonderful, I'm sure. So we be expecting you guys tomorrow and next. And I also want to commend the efforts of the Education and Training Committee of the PSN-YPG Lagos. This is quite impressive. Thank you so much for your efforts. Yeah, and Family, lastly, I want to say that some of us are planning to kidnap you, like Fam Uyai and Fam Fam Titi and me. So when you are going for those your trips, would enter inside your bus and just go with you. Just know.
I'm a Port Harcourt boy. You can't kidnap me. I'm a Port
It will
Harcourt boy.
shock you. It will shock you. No problem. Thank you so much.
It's okay.
So have
Alright,
a
my
good
pleasure.
night, everyone. See you tomorrow, same time, 6
Alright.
p.m.
Goodbye, everyone. Yeah, thanks
All
for
right,
having
bye.
me. Goodbye. Bye. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for Melody.